15 things we want to see in Grand Theft Auto 6. Rockstar Games' Grand Theft Auto Online and Red Dead Online continue to survive, but it's not long before its next major single-player title releases. Rumors indicate that it's Grand Theft Auto 6, and though we know nothing about it, there's plenty we'd like to see in it. Let's take a look at 15 such features here. Brand new city. Despite all of the great memories they offered, Los Santos, San Andreas, Vice City, and Liberty City all had their time to shine. It's time to move the series to a brand new city. Atlantic City wouldn't be too bad. San Antonio is also a decent option, given its abundance of Fortune 500 companies and facilities for US Armed Forces, which would be well suited for heists and jet theft alike. More dynamic events. Red Dead Redemption 2's dynamic events offered a nice, organic way to interact with the world with their small storylines and interesting characters. While GTA 5 had these to an extent, it would be nice to expand on them in the sequel. Perhaps it could take a page out of Yakuza's sub-stories in terms of character interaction and weirdness, with every corner hiding some new interesting tale to experience. More playable prologues. One thing that GTA 6 should definitely look to crib is Cyberpunk 2077's life paths, offering different playable prologues for its protagonist. While it doesn't need to go in depth or have these choices affect each and everything in the main storyline, it would help personalize one's character all the more. We've already had a prologue showcasing the early days of Michael and Trevor in GTA 5, so having multiple different prologues in the sequel shouldn't be tough. Occupations. Remember all the different people that could be hired for heists, each with their own unique skill sets? Grand Theft Auto 6 could have something similar, with players able to select an occupation for their character. This would be down to a certain set of skills they're good at, or even a unique special ability, and potentially open up unique content and activities that are only accessible to certain occupations. Deep choices. Past GTA titles have offered some kind of choice when it comes to the ending. Grand Theft Auto 5 provided different options for tackling heists, which could fundamentally change one's approach. While the sequel doesn't have to go too deep into RPG mechanics or skill checks, having deeper narrative choices through the game, like allying with certain characters, taking different deals, or even changing the city based on who you eliminate, would be cool. And as noted before, while one's prologue doesn't have to affect each and every decision, seeing its impact at certain points would be great. Return to singular protagonist. GTA 5 offered 3 different characters to represent its 3 key regions, but also to provide varying points of view and character development. To that end, we wouldn't mind if the game returned to having a singular protagonist, especially if one is able to customize their backstory and occupations. It would allow for a more personalized experience unique to a character, instead of just playing the story through someone's fixed point of view again and again. Female protagonist. Whether the series returns to having multiple protagonists or not, having a woman as a playable character would be a welcome addition. This would offer an interesting perspective and choices which, coupled with the ability to more heavily personalize one's character, could make for some unique stories. Better shooting controls. If there's one major criticism that's been leveled against recent Rockstar titles, it's that the shooting could be better. While GTA 5 wasn't terrible, having more intuitive controls and fluid shooting, reinforcing the unique properties of each weapon while making them fun to use, would be ideal. It doesn't have to be super arcade-like, but surely doesn't need to lean too much into realism either. New activity types. It's been over 7 years since Grand Theft Auto 5 launched for previous gen consoles. Suffice it to say that the range and variety of activities that players could partake in with various games has expanded, whether it's Saints Row the Third's insurance fraud or Yakuza's detailed minigames and management systems. Maybe the ability to create your own multi-level marketing strategy to create a small cult, perhaps running for a government position. Both? It wouldn't be the weirdest jump for the series, that's for sure. GTA Online activities and single player. Of course, it wouldn't hurt to add some activities from GTA Online into GTA 6's single player. Gun running, smuggling, building a criminal empire, and buying all sorts of expensive toys to go with different properties. These would all make for a more holistic crime game. Furthermore, it would provide single player fans a reason to keep playing, ideally keeping the microtransactions limited to GTA Online. Progression overhaul. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas and Grand Theft Auto 5 had their unique ways of managing stats, reflecting each character's different lifestyle, along with generic tasks like jogging, swimming, and whatnot. This might be an unpopular opinion, but I'd be more invested in defined progression, say by completing a chain of missions with a unique story to improve a character's skills. Random actions and destruction throughout the city could still contribute to the game's overarching character development, but leaning into more predetermined paths for progression would be better. Deeper weapon customization. Having deeper customization for one's weapons, with the ability to change out barrels, attachments, magazines, and firing modes, is another addition that we'd love to see. Just take the Gunsmith from 2019's Call of Duty Modern Warfare multiplayer and incorporate it here. Like everything else suggested thus far, it would allow for a more personalized experience for players, and some truly wicked weapons. New Game Plus and difficulty options. What do you get for the player who's completed everything? The option to do it all again while earning unique wards in the New Game Plus. Grand Theft Auto 6 could do with some difficulty options, introducing some modifiers to go with tougher enemies to keep things interesting for players on their second go-around. Tie into GTA Online. Red Dead Redemption 2 released in 2018 with Red Dead Online coming shortly after it, but it didn't take off to the same extent as GTA Online. So rather than creating a brand new online mode for Grand Theft Auto 6, it would help to have it tie into the current setup. Perhaps some unique content based on the sequel could be incorporated, linking back to the main game in interesting ways. Content updates for single player. Of course, the most important of all is to have content updates for single player, whether it's new characters, new missions, an entirely new campaign, or even new weapons and cars. Fans have sought single-player DLC for Grand Theft Auto 5 ever since it released, and given the story content that GTA Online has had, it wouldn't be impossible to do the same for single-player.
And that wraps it up. If you like what we are doing, please consider subscribing to our channel, and don't forget to switch on the bell notification icon. That way you will never miss out on any of our videos.